Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission today is pretty specific. We're diving into a really tangled case from Dalliance, Texas, Dickerson University.
That's right. It's a small-town academic scandal, but with, well, lethal consequences.
Exactly. We're going to piece together how two sudden deaths, a grad student murdered, his professor dead shortly after, and a supposed suicide were unraveled.
And not really by the official police investigation. Interestingly enough, it was more down to some local folks. Amateur investigators, you could say?
Armed with what? Local gossip, notes, academic insights, a bit of everything.
Yeah, it's a fascinating look at, the intense pressures of academic life, secret survival. It all got deadly serious.
So let's start at the beginning. The first victim, Bryan Campbell. PhD student, ambitious type.
Highly competitive, apparently. He's found murdered in the English department office, of all places.
On honors day, no less. And the weapon, well, it was grim.
Yeah, the sources say a heavy-duty stapler.
Wow, okay. That definitely points to something happening right there, inside the department walls.
Absolutely. An internal affair, you might say.
So the police arrive, Detective Cal McCormack, and their focus immediately snaps onto one person.
Dr. Emily Clowper, an English professor.
Why her? What was the connection?
Well, on the surface, the motive looked incredibly strong. Emily had failed Bryan. Not once, but twice.
On his comprehensive exams, his comps.
Exactly. And for anyone listening who doesn't know, failing comps twice, that's pretty much the end of the line for a doctoral student. Your PhD journey is over.
So she basically just destroyed his academic future.
She did. And Bryan didn't take it lying down. He hit back hard.
With the sexual harassment claim.
That's right. He alleged Emily failed him because he'd refused her advances, which, if proven, could cost Emily everything. Her tenure, her job.
A job the sources say she really needed. An administrative hearing was already scheduled.
So you see the logic from the police perspective. Emily had this massive, immediate motive. Kill Bryan before he ruins her life.
But here's the twist, right? The sources reveal a more complicated picture. Emily wasn't harassing Bryan.
No. But she was hiding something that made his false claim look dangerously plausible.
Okay.
She was having a consensual affair with another grad student, Reggie Hawking.
Ah, and Bryan knew, or suspected.
It seems Bryan found out somehow, maybe overheard something, saw texts. The sources mentioned she used pet names like Babe with Reggie. Bryan likely realized he could twist this real secret affair to make his fake harassment claim against Emily seem much more believable.
Okay, so that gives Emily an even stronger motive, maybe. Not just self-preservation, but actual revenge. He was maliciously using her private life against her.
Precisely. And Bryan himself. Well, he didn't seem to have many fans.
The sources paint him as pretty disliked.
Widely. Undergrads apparently found him a tough grader, a poor teacher, his fellow grad students. Pompous, cutthroat, competitive.
More interested in the PhD title than the actual subject.
He's that way. Driven by ambition, easily distracted by, well, anything that wasn't pure scholarship. He made enemies. He was unfortunately a ripe target.
But the police case against Emily stalls, because then Emily herself is found dead.
Right. Just days after Bryan's funeral. This throws everything into chaos.
And the official ruling is suicide.
Yes. The ME reported self-inflicted asphyxiation using her bathrobe tie. Possibly complicated by an insulin overdose. Emily was diabetic.
So the police likely thought, okay, case closed, she killed Bryan, then killed herself out of guilt.
That was the official narrative. But our amateur investigators, Tally, the ice cream shop owner, Finn, local reporter, they immediately felt something was wrong.
Why? What didn't add up about the scene?
Several things. Let's start with tiramisu.
The tiramisu. I remember reading that. There was an open takeout box.
A gold one, yes, containing tiramisu. Now, Tally knew Emily, knew she adored tiramisu. It was her big weakness, diabetes notwithstanding.
Okay, but why is that suspicious? Maybe she indulged before, you know.
But Emily had just eaten dinner somewhere else that night. And more importantly, she was found with her computer open, working on a grant proposal spreadsheet, making future plans.
Working on future grants doesn't exactly scream about to commit suicide.
Not usually, no. And then there was her final phone call.
Right, she called a family member and sounded incoherent.
Extremely incoherent, apparently mumbling things like, keys, Tim, money. And this really strange line. Alice was brilliant.
Alice. Who's Alice?
We'll get to Alice. But the point is, if Emily's blood sugar was so low, she was that incoherent, how could she then manage the mechanics of the suicide?
Tying the knot, securing it, strangling herself.
And then somehow getting the phone from wherever she made the call back to the kitchen counter where it was found. It seemed physically impossible if she was in that state.
The staging felt too perfect, too thought out maybe, and yet contradictory with the tiramisu.
Exactly. It felt like someone else had arranged the scene, using their knowledge of her diabetes against her.
Okay, so if Emily didn't kill Bryan, and she didn't kill herself, then Bryan's killer is still out there. And his blackmailing wasn't just about Emily's affair.
Right. The investigators realized Bryan must have been targeting others, which led them straight to the English department chair, Jonas Landry.
Landry, what was Bryan holding over him?
Academic fraud. Bryan had discovered that Landry fabricated interviews for his big, successful book, Disciple of Denmark.
That's career death in academia, faking research.
Absolutely. So, in exchange for Bryan's silence, Landry had done him some favors, passed him on his comps, helped push his appeal against Emily through the system.
Wait, if Landry helped Bryan pass, wouldn't Bryan be satisfied? Why keep pushing?
Good question. The sources suggest Bryan wasn't the type to stop. Once he had leverage, he'd keep squeezing. Landry was likely still under threat.
And Landry's alibi for Bryan's murder?
Weak. Very weak. He said he was at the faculty club. Alone.
Confirmed only by a credit card receipt.
An iCash receipt, yeah. For an egg white omelet and dry rye toast at 10:15 a.m. Eating alone isn't much of an alibi when your entire career might be on the line.
Okay, so now we have two powerful people, Emily and Landry, both with potentially ruinous secrets. Bryan was juggling both blackmail schemes.
Yeah, it seems so. But the real key, the thing that finally unlocked the whole conspiracy, was found on Bryan's calendar.
Just a cryptic note.
QUITAM, written on one of the days.
Quit a.m., like quit in the morning.
That's what everyone initially thought. But then Tally's niece, Alice, remember the Alice was brilliant line? She figured it out.
She's the brilliant Alice. Okay, what did she realize?
It wasn't English, it was Latin. Quitam, meaning who and whom.
Quitam. What does that signify, legally speaking?
It refers to a specific type of lawsuit. A quitam action is where a private citizen sues an entity on behalf of the government, usually for fraud committed against the government.
Like a whistleblower lawsuit.
Exactly. And if the suit is successful, the whistleblower, the realtor, gets a hefty percentage of whatever money the government recovers, sometimes millions.
So Bryan wasn't just after personal revenge or academic favors. He was planning a massive financial lawsuit against the university.
That's what it looked like. He was going after bigger fish.
So Alice starts digging into quitam lawyers.
In dalliance, yes. And she finds a firm, Jackson and Versteeg. Turns out Kristen Versteeg was Bryan's lawyer for this potential suit.
And her partner, Madeline Jackson.
Her aunt is George Gunderson.
George Gunderson, VP for Research Support at Dickerson University, the guy in charge of grants.
Bingo. And remember the spreadsheets Emily was working on when she died?
The grant proposal spreadsheets, yes.
They held the final clue. Comparing Emily's draft version with the official university template revealed the fraud. It was subtle, but devastating.
What was Gunderson doing?
He was manipulating the F&A percentage. Facilities and administration costs. It's basically the university's overhead charge on grants.
How?
The official rate was, say, 48.5%. Gunderson had tweaked the templates used for big science grants to show 49%.
Just 0.5%. That seems tiny.
Tiny, but applied across millions and millions of dollars in federal grant money over years. It adds up. He was skimming hundreds of thousands.
Wow. How did nobody notice?
It's the kind of fraud that flies under the radar. Auditors look for big, obvious discrepancies, not tiny rounding differences in overhead percentages buried in templates.
Yeah.
It was, frankly, quite clever. Devious, but clever.
And why? Was he just greedy?
The sources reveal something more tragic. His wife, Rosemary, had severe cancer. He'd been secretly using the skimmed money for years to pay her massive ongoing medical bills.
Oh, wow. So it wasn't just greed, it was
desperation. Utter desperation. Bryan, during a brief assignment in Gunderson's research office, somehow figured it out. The Quitam suit would expose everything, ruin Gunderson, likely bankrupt him, and stop the funding for his wife's treatment.
So Gunderson had the most powerful motive imaginable. Love, fear, survival.
Absolutely. When Tally and the detective finally confronted him in Emily's office, he confessed. to both murders.
He killed Bryan to stop the Quitam lawsuit.
And then he killed Emily because he overheard something, probably via his lawyer niece, connecting Emily to the Quitam investigation. He realized she was getting too close with those spreadsheets.
And he used his knowledge of diabetes, maybe things he learned caring for his wife, to stage Emily's death perfectly, including the tiramisu detail.
It seems so. A calculated move to make it look like a diabetic crisis leading to suicide. Chillingly effective.
Truly horrifying. A secret meant to save someone ended up destroying so many lives.
It really underscores the devastating ripple effects of these hidden acts.
So, as we wrap this up, the main mystery is solved. But Bryan's messy life left other consequences, didn't it? Other secrets were still floating around.
Oh, yes. There was one final, rather cruel secret involving Bryan, an undergraduate student he taught, Ashley Henderson.
The one he failed.
Yes, she was 5 months pregnant with his baby.
Oh my God. And he still failed her, costing her a job offer.
He did.
Yeah.
Apparently, he'd promised some financial support if the baby was proven his, but refused to compromise his grading standards, even for the mother of his child.
Wow. Narcissistic right to the very end.
It paints a bleak picture of his character, doesn't it?
It does. And what about the investigators? This case clearly affected them personally, too. Cal McCormack, the detective.
Who was also Bryan's uncle, remember? The whole thing apparently shook him up, made him realize life is short. He actually asked Tally to go steady during a dance at a scholarship benefit.
Go steady. Like old school. How did Tally react?
Gently turned him down. Understandably, she needed time after everything that had happened.
And her relationship with Finn, the reporter, still complicated.
Very. The sources show he still has strong feelings for her, but he's also quite judgmental. Sees her as playing it safe, calls her a fixer-upper in his notes.
Ouch. Not exactly romantic.
No, but there's clearly still chemistry. They even shared a spontaneous kiss at that same fundraiser. It's messy, volatile.
It really grounds the whole thing, though. These aren't just characters in a mystery. They're real people with complicated lives reacting to trauma.
Exactly. And it comes back to those small-town connections. Tally creating a specific pink pepperberry milkshake for a local wedding using raspberries. And, get this, Dublin Dr. Pepper.
Dublin Dr. Pepper, that's specific.
It is. And it reminds you that this huge, complex case involving federal grant fraud was ultimately cracked open by people paying attention to the tiny details of their community, like knowing someone's favorite dessert.
So the big takeaway here seems to be about information. Bryan weaponized secrets, Emily's affair, Landry's fraud, Gunderson's crime.
He did. But Gunderson's secret, the deadliest one, was only uncovered by putting all the pieces together. The suicide logistics, the tiramisu, the Latin legal term Quitam, the spreadsheet percentage.
It wasn't one big clue, but lots of small local details synthesized.
Precisely. It shows how seemingly minor details, things buried in bureaucracy or local knowledge, can expose massive wrongdoing.
And it strikes me that almost everyone here, Bryan, Landry, Gunderson, even poor Ashley, was driven by a desire for success or security or survival.
Which leads to that final question for you, the listener, to think about. When the stakes feel incredibly high, a career, a degree, a loved one's health, how small does that first moral compromise need to be, that tiny fudge factor, that little lie, that slightly rounded number? How small before it creates the foundation for something truly catastrophic? What price are we or others willing to pay for security?